Welcome back to the Heater Dynasty Podcast, Episode 2. And today we're going to be breaking down the Central Division and looking a little bit more in depth into some of those teams, what makes a good Dynasty team, what makes a bad Dynasty team. But first off, we wanted to welcome a brand new listener to our podcast. We noticed this week that we have an outside listener. His name is Chris. He's a coworker of mine. How are you, Chris? Thanks for joining the team.
Thanks for joining, Chris.
Yeah, but no, seriously, it's been fun. We've been passing around the information and hoping to see how this takes off. I think we're up to 3 now. We got John, Mom, and Chris. So that's a pretty solid top 3.
Diverse, very diverse.
All across the U.S. So, but yeah, what are we going to be talking about today, Mark?
Yeah, so I'm also pretty excited here. I think it's been really fun thus far, and excited to see what we do throughout the year. Hopefully going to weekly here once the season starts. So we have a few segments prepared throughout the season. This leads us to our first one here today, Eric, is our 60-second salesman. This is where we break down the rules or just unique things about our league that we're pretty excited about. So this is where I'll kick it to you to defend why we did it, why we think you all should do it as well.
Oh, wait, so I'm doing
it? Yeah. Oh, no. Just kidding.
All right. Well, that's good. We'll see how it goes then. I was not ready, but let's do it. What's the topic?
60 seconds why your league should not have kickers or defenses and why we chose it for our league. So 60 seconds on the clock. I'm going to start on my side, and I'll let you know when we've hit it. So, go.
All right. Well, kickers and defenses are both lame. It's a horrible way to win a competition. So if you happen to have won it in the past based on just your kicker or your defense, or worse, lost based on these stats, then no more. You don't have to worry about that because we've nixed them. They don't matter in our leagues anymore. Why, do you ask? Well, because things like the New England Patriots and their defense of last year and how they just totally demolished other teams for absolutely no reason. That's stupid. We don't want that in our league. And also just the discrepancies of week to week. You can have different streaming situations. Why worry about that? That's dumb. It's stupid. We don't need Steven Gostkowski breaking a toenail and ruining your season. Okay? Just get rid of them. Focus on removing luck from your divisions and from your teams and having us focus more on actual strategy, and yeah.
Cut it. Well done. I'm convinced.
I'll have to listen.
I hope you are too.
Like I said, a single thing that mattered. The bottom line, just get rid of them. They're stupid. Nobody actually likes them. And now you don't have to worry about that one guy drafting a kicker in the 3rd round. There's plenty of other things to mock him for.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my extra 2 cents.
No, it's allowed. Just the silliness of dropping, just picking up a defense every week, dropping them, picking up another one just based upon who's playing the Detroit Lions. Just seems kind of silly.
Right. Or who was the team last year? Was it the Arizona Cardinals with their you like always play a tight end against the Arizona Cardinals defense or whatever it was. It was fun.
All right. So
anyway.
Moving into our rankings, so we'll pop that up here. This kind of just our snapshot of where we have everyone ranked throughout it. We're going to be diving into this in depth through this one and the next 2 episodes, where we go division by division. So yeah, I thought it was pretty fun going through this process. We're definitely going to post it in the spot for anyone to gripe about if they'd like, or if you wanted to make your own. It was honestly a pretty fun process putting this together.
And you might notice that both Mark and my teams are near the top, and we understand that that's going to require a little bit of defending. So in the next couple episodes, we will both defend each other's positions as far as why we're better than you guys, and we're ranked at the top. It's not just a bias, but it's a an actual fact. So we will lay that out for you. But we challenge you, as we're laying out these divisions, if you have a disagreement, you are more than welcome to join us on this show and defend your position.
Come on, baby.
But we're not going to defend our position today, because today we're talking about the Central Division, and we aren't in that division. But when it comes to our actual divisions, you will see why we are that.
So let's jump in to the Central Division under the magnifying glass here today. This division was definitely the strongest last year. We've got Noel winning, and then we've got Seymour at 4. We all know Mark, Andrew Gordon at 5 last year.
This division also had the loser, I believe, Mark. Don't forget that was with Ben Chapman at 12. He also,
I missed that.
So that just speaks to how powerful this division was, that they could support such a loser in their division and still be the strongest division.
Yep. Now, yeah. So we got BC bouncing back. It's just fun to roast him for last year.
I was going to say, BC, I've never even met you, dude, and I'm sure you're a nice guy, so I'm sorry that I pick on you so much, but you made it so easy this last year.
I got to say, it was a pretty rough roster. There are conversations we had. I think that he's aware that may have been one of the worst rosters put together. But he quickly bounced back, and now I have him at 7. You know, we can see that. We'll dive into this more. Eric has him going 5 and 8 and 9. So,
well, and there was a pretty clutch trade that happened that I'm sure we will discuss later as well, Mark, that I think is causing quite a stir going forward with 2 teams in this division, and we'll definitely highlight that once we get to those teams. But let's go back to we all know Mark. Sorry.
So we'll kind of jump into the position breakdown. We talked a little bit about it, so we'll kind of go at the high level. QB, running back, we're on the same page. I have him as number 2 just because of Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, I have him as the 1 quarterback, but the second quarterback is where I dropped him 1. Running back, we both have him 1. Receivers where we really split. I have it number 2. I'm going to kick it over to you here in a second, but I did it for DJ Moore. I think is a solid one. Adam Thielen. I think they're both good right now. DK is going to step up. CD, I think will jump right in, but I'll kick it over to you. Why do you have him at 7?
Yeah, I mean, I think he has a solid group of wide receivers here. I just think that they all kind of fall in that wide receiver 2 category. I don't think he has any solid wide receiver 1 studs. Adam Thielen would be the only exception to that, possibly, as definitely as one who's proven it in the past. But he's just not able to stay on the field healthy very often anymore, it seems like. And even with that, I have him as a borderline wide receiver 1. So he's more like 14, 15 in my rankings. So just outside of that top wide receiver 1 category, he's going to be a real high upside wide receiver 2. But same with DJ Moore. I think he's going to have a great season. He might break out to be a wide receiver 1. But once again, it's going to be just on the cusp there, right at the end of that grouping of top 12 receivers. DK Metcalf is another possibility. I guess that's just where I'm at. There's a lot of possibilities. I think going forward, he's going to have a really solid crew. But right now, I think they're all going to be – he's going to be struggling to figure out who to start each week. So I predict that it's going to be difficult to know who to place in there and that there's going to be some mistakes. So if it's a best ball league, yeah, he's got a great roster. But when human error comes into play, he might struggle a little bit.
Gotcha. Moving to the next one, tight end, 4-3. We have Mark Andrews, David Njoku. Mark Andrews, I think we both have him as a pretty solid touchdown catcher. Njoku has some nice depth. Flex, this is the kind of continuation of the receiver. I think, he has so many options that stream and play. I think you'll be able to have a nice 4th receiver in there. Or even really, I have Breida, I have is pretty high
right
this year.
I think that's the difference between our rankings is that you are much higher on Breida than I am.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a guarantee that he's the starter there in Miami, whereas you feel like he is a better shot at that. So, I mean, I see him placing a wide receiver in there most weeks. And then I just also feel like he's got a lot of players on buys at the same time. Weeks 10 and 11 I'm looking at specifically are going to be some rough weeks for him, which I think is also why you ended up having him losing those 2 weeks to his division teammates. So all that to say, he's got a good squad, but I just don't feel like it's looking as promising for this season. I mean, yet we still have him at 8-5 and 9-4, respectively.
It's going to be a rough, fourth ranking for Andrew Gordon.
Yeah, sneaking into the playoffs and probably winning the whole thing. But his team sucks. It's that simple.
Yeah. So all right. I feel like we talked about him pretty good. Yeah. We'll jump down to Seymour here. Obviously, this was the big disparity between us. Yes. And we'll kind of circle back here with a little more defending our positions after we run through everyone. But, for Seymour, I have him at 4th, coming in at 9-4. You have him at 8th at 5-8. Breaking news as of this morning, there's been a trade between myself and Seymour that I think is worth highlighting here.
Okay.
So it was Leonard Fournette and D.D. Westbrook for my own Sam Darnold and Stephon Diggs. So just in transparency, this was all of our rankings and things here have been before that trade. I think that, at least personally, it didn't really affect much for me in my outlook for him. I think getting that second quarterback is nice, and getting another depth receiver there is nice. But I thought that was worth noting. What were your thoughts?
I would say the same thing. I think the biggest thing that I took away from it is that I think that Seymour is worried about his quarterback position. So I saw this as kind of a tilt move on my own part, because I think letting Fournette go is a mistake for his roster, just because I think it weakens a position of strength for him. And I don't necessarily see it as a huge improvement in either the quarterback or the wide receiver spot. All in all, I think it's a fair trade. I don't see anybody losing out per se in this. Just going forward, hopefully Darnold will play out for him, because it would be nice. He definitely needs a quarterback there. I know, because he kept trying to steal Josh Allen from me. So the answer is still no, unless you want to trade me. No.
Chubb's a beast.
He tried to trade me Chubb. And I honestly thought about it for a little bit, but no, we're in similar categories of we were QB needy this offseason, but I definitely think it's a good move for him. From Sam Darnold could play out. I'm not too hopeful for him, but I have been wrong once or twice before. But the biggest thing is that Stephon Diggs, he is definitely a solid addition to that very crowded wide receiver area for him. We'll just have to wait and see who plays out and see if he can put the right person in place each week. So.
Yeah, I think he definitely got options. Juju, Robinson, Kirk, and Diggs. He's got more depth there for sure.
Yeah. But as far as you, Mark, versus me at 4 and 8, I actually have a little game I put together for you. I don't know if this is the right time or not to address.
Do it.
Okay.
Send him my way.
So this game is comparing 4 different receivers. All right. Okay. Because we'll talk about Jared Burkholder in in whether it's next week or the week after. I don't remember what our order is for episodes, but in an upcoming episode when we talk about the New England division, we'll talk about Jared's team that you ranked as the 8th team, and I ranked.
We have a pretty big disparity. Yeah.
And you have Seymour as your 4th overall. I have him as my 8th overall. So what I've decided to do is I've made a game where I am looking at Jared's. I actually have Jared's top receiver and his 3rd receiver, and I have Seymour's top 2 receivers, just to make my point even clearer. But we'll let the game speak for itself. So the players in question are Julio Jones, Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Will Fuller.
Okay.
So of these 4, who has the highest yards per reception over the last 2 seasons? So this is the last 2 seasons stats all combined.
Okay. So we're talking Julio Jones, Will Fuller, Allen Robinson, Juju.
Yeah.
And I'm ranking them 1 to 4. Or am I saying the top one?
You're just saying the top one. Who? I mean, you can rank it however you want, but I only care about the top.
So, yards per reception. So, obviously, Julio Jones is a beast in this, but I think he's getting a ton of just catches as well.
Okay.
Whereas, so I think Julio Jones has the most yards through the 2 seasons for sure. Will Fuller is the big play receiver in my mind. And then Allen Robinson's, I think he's more receptions, strong, physical guy. So I'm going to put as Will Fuller.
And you don't even care about Juju? He's nobody?
All right, well, I guess I should talk about Juju. Last year, obviously, getting Devil and Duck Hodges throwing the ball like ducks to him.
Or don't forget about the other quarterback that they have that now has a crater in his forehead.
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
What is his name? I don't even. I
it doesn't even matter. Mason Rudolph.
Rudolph.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's where I think Ben. This is probably another part. I think Ben's good. I think I was just talking about this with Newell. I think he's cusp elite still.
Sure.
So I think when you got him slinging the ball around back there, I think Juju bounces right back. But I would say because of the last year, he's not going to have great stats comparison.
So what's your answer?
Will Fuller.
Okay. You are right. It is Will Ferrell. Wow, that's a tough name.
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell has the highest yards per reception for this grouping. No, Will Fuller, he had 14.7 yards per reception. The next best was actually Julio Jones, believe it or not, at 14.46. And then Allen Robinson was the last in the group at 12.7, and Juju was at a solid 13 yards. So close, but no cigar. It was Will Fuller. So you already.
That's what I said.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You already kind of answered this one. You said who has the most reception yards. You were right. It was Julio Jones at 3,071 yards over the last 2 seasons, and he blew away the competition because the next closest guy was, let me see here.
Probably Juju's for that.
It actually was. It was Juju at 1978. So he has a solid 1,100 yards more than anybody else. So my last question, as individual groupings, is who had the most touchdowns of those 4 over the last 2 seasons?
That's tough.
The first 2 are kind of softballs, but
yeah. So Julio Jones, I know from our last one that he had 6 last year. I know I would think he was lower the year before because I think he was even more. It was like less than 3 probably. I think, and this may be a wide question, I am leaning towards Juju with the most touchdowns.
Is that your final?
That's my final answer.
Okay. You are wrong, and not only are you wrong, but you're like really wrong.
Good.
It actually was Julio.
Okay.
Julio had 14, and because he had 8 the year before. Second place would have gone to Allen Robinson with 11.
Okay.
And then Juju had 10.
Okay.
And then Will Fuller had 7 because
he's just too hurt.
Yeah, he would catch the ball. He ran a whole bunch of yards, and then he would fall and hurt himself on the 1 yard line, and then somebody else would run it in afterwards. But
I don't remember that play, if I'm being honest. But
Deshaun Watson actually would just steal his
he did everything.
Yes. But final question, just to prove my point even further.
Okay.
Which pair has more fantasy points combined? So, Julio Jones and Will Fuller, which are Jared's receivers. So, fantasy points combined over the last 2 seasons versus Juju Smith-Schuster and Allen Robinson. Which pairing got their teams more points?
So, based upon the lead into the question of just to prove my point further, I think I got the answer.
Did I?
Because Julio Jones having 8 touchdowns last year, I did not realize that, and I already knew.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. So he may have beaten both of them together. But yeah, final answer: Jones, Fuller.
You were correct. I was leading, not because I wanted you to lose this game, but because I wanted to show you that your stats are junk. So your predictions are crap.
May I interject here?
Yes.
So we discussed Juju, Devlin Hodges, Mason Rudolph. I think that point was made. And then Robinson, I think all I have to do is say Mitchell Trubisky. And now we've got Nicholas Foles coming to fold here. I say big bounce back. Will Fuller, but I give him 3 games till he gets hurt.
That's fair.
And Calvin Ridley.
I will tell you that I used his third wide receiver to make this point. He also has Brandon Cooks on his team and DJ Chark. The only reason I didn't use DJ Chark is because he had his breakout season last year. And the year before that, he had a total of 32 receptions. So that would have really skewed the numbers and not gone in my favor. So yes, I cherry-picked stats a little bit. However, going forward in this season alone, he has DJ Chark, Brandon Cooks, Julio Jones. Oh, and then whenever Will Fuller decides to play, Will Fuller, he doesn't need him on the field every season, every week. So just since this trade went down, I put some numbers down for you. Okay. So let's say that you had Julio, Will, Fuller, and Brandon Cooks. Their season combined stats for the last 2 years versus Juju Smith-Schuster, Allen Robinson, and now Stephon Diggs. Which of those 3 pairings scored more points combined in the last 2 years?
Based upon the questions thus far, because what's his fourth? It's Kirk. Okay, Kirk is the other one. Yeah. Who?
But that one doesn't matter. It's just those 3.
Okay.
I cut him out. I cut Chark out.
Okay. Yeah, and based upon the question, Fuller, Jones, and whoever the Cooks.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see. I feel good.
I'm asking you what was the answer?
I gave it to you. Jones, Fuller, Cooks.
That's who you think it was?
Yep.
You're wrong. You're so dumb. No, it actually was. With Stephon Diggs, he has them beat by the smallest
You
margin.
prove my point.
It's 1256.5 versus 1211.1 points. However, like I said, Christian Kirk sucks. And
it's crowded right now there. Fitz, Hopkins, he's three, but I think once Fitz retires.
I'm saying for this season,
all right.
I don't think he's got much to give to the game. And the person that's not even on the screen right now is DJ Chark, who I think is going to highly outperform both Juju and Allen this year.
Really? That's bold.
And that is my bold take.
That's a hot take.
It's the division, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. So, anyway, thank you for playing the game, Mark, with me, just to kind of show a little bit of the discrepancies between our predicting acumen is the word I would use.
I wouldn't, but
anyway, I think we've more than discussed Seymour. So who do we have next? Would it
kick it over to you here? We've got BC.
BC. Okay. All right. Let me look at my cheat sheet here. What we're talking about. Okay. So with Ben Chapman, this was last year's worst ranked team.
Mm-hmm.
However, we both have him moving up in the ranking a little bit. I have him jumping up to... Sorry, I can't read my own notes here.
I have him moving up quite a bit. I have him moving up to 7th this year at 7-6.
Right.
You got him at 9th.
That's right. And you're projecting him for a 7-6 season. I'm projecting him for a 5-8 season, giving him an average win projection of 6 wins. Either way, both of us agree that we think Ben Chapman made some solid moves this offseason that will set him up going forward. I just think you think that he's going to have a bigger bounce back than I do. But if we're looking at his season breakdown, he does have the benefit of being the last place team. We gave him a pretty easy schedule. With a couple of curveballs thrown in there because, for instance, last year you finished as the 11th team, and we said you had a really good offseason, so you're now at the top of our rankings for this upcoming year. So obviously that kind of throws a wrench into this whole system. So you're supposed to be the second worst team, and he's playing you, but I have him predicted to lose to you. You actually have him predicted to win against you. Why is that? In week 10?
Week 10. Week 10 for me is especially weak with buys. I think BC, I feel pretty good about him. Okay. Let me see what specifically is. I have...
He caught you.
Oh, yeah. I have Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, Irv Smith, Blake Jarwin, my 2 starting tight ends, 2 top tight ends, and Tyreek Hill in week 10. So I got him really good in a week.
That's true. Okay, so I am going to be changing my rankings to have him that, and I'm also going to be changing the schedule so that I happen to play you that week as well. Okay, no, that makes sense. That's fair. I will be honest. When I did the win and loss, I didn't necessarily factor in buys as much as I probably should have. So that's a fair point. I think for me, when I'm looking at his wide receivers, I would give the same argument I gave before. I think he's got a lot of good wide receiver 2s, but AJ Brown had a great year last year. I don't think AJ Brown is going to have as good of a season this upcoming year, just because the amount of receptions that he had so many. He didn't have very many receptions, but he made so much with them. So I think there's going to be some touchdown regression for sure. I think he's not going to be able to get as many yards with that. But I don't see his reception numbers going up a ton, being there on the Titans. I don't see them throwing the ball a ton. I see them just trying to use that same strategy as last year, running Derrick Henry right through the middle of everyone. And
just stop it.
Just
do it till they stop it.
do it till they stop it, then they'll throw it once or twice to A.J. Brown and call it a day. And so I think that his numbers aren't going to look as good. I think he's going to be decent, just wide receiver 2 decent. Odell, I think will have a better year this year than last year. But yeah, we'll see. I don't predict it to be awesome. Honestly, the one person on this team that I think we are both sleeping on is AJ Green. I think he has the potential to have a huge year. Because
Joe Burrow, baby.
Joe Burrow, but also he had the whole offseason to recoup. Also the whole season to recoup. Like, he's been out of the game for over a year. But I think he still has some in the tank. So for this season, I think that could be a sneaky pick that he has that could benefit him. So going forward, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor, those are going to be huge.
Yeah.
But I guess that's where I see the discrepancies between your picks and my pick. What about the position breakdown? So that was for his team. What did we have here? So wide receiver was the big one. And then we both said that his running backs are not good. We have him as the bottom-ranked team in running backs.
Obviously, the biggest addition being Hilaire. He's going to be good. I think we're both he's going to be a stud. But
yeah, and I think that when I made this list, that was before Damian Williams opted out. So that might change it. He's got some decent guys on here. They're just all decent, meaning who I would feel comfortable in the flex, not necessarily a running back too. He does have Jordan Howard. I think Jordan Howard is going to have a better season than you think he is going to have. I think he's going to actually start over Breida personally. And that's where we differ. Marlon Mack could start the season with Indianapolis, but I think he is going to be taken over by
Jonathan
Taylor sooner than later. And then, of course, the infamous James White is on his team. And if our proposal goes through, James White will actually help him. Will have negative points on his team. So so vote for that, folks, if you want to see that. No, that's a throwback from last episode. James White, I think he'll have an okay season, but I would not trust anybody in New England's backfield this year. Except for Cam Newton. I think he'll be their best running back. So are we down to the final one? Are we talking about the league winner last year? So
down to Newell.
Now we're both kind of predicting a fall from grace for Newell, are we not?
Yeah, significant. Okay. Significant fall.
So where do you have him ranked? I'm trying to find my notes.
I have him 10th. Obviously McCaffrey was, and actually just we can highlight this one more time, which was 500 points. If we look at Albeezy, who we both have pretty high running backs with Kamara and Jacobs, we both ranked him 3 in our position group rankings. If we had Alvin Kamara, who again, 3 games out, plus Josh Jacobs last year, who missed a game or 2, less than Christian McCaffrey combined last year.
That's so crazy. I mean, I think that's the thing, is that there was a lot of numbers like this when you look at GM Newell's team, where last year, he blew some people out, but a lot of those had to do with 1 or 2 players on his team. He also had Austin Eckler on his team, who had some ridiculous games at the beginning of the season while Melvin Gordon was holding out, and who else does he have on his team? I thought there was one more.
Kelsey.
Obviously Kelsey, yeah. So he has some big highlighted players. Obviously Kelsey's still going to be good going forward. Christian McCaffrey is going to be solid. Austin Eckler, in all honesty, is going to be solid. But I think we just see his team as going to quickly regress. He might be able to get one more good season in, which I know is his hope, that and get one more good season in here. I'm a little higher on him this year than you are. I have him ranked at 7th. So I guess that's where I want to hear from you a little bit more of why do you have him all the way down at 10?
Yeah, I kind of walked this one back in as well. He's playing the one schedule, so he's playing a lot of good teams that just kind of ended up falling the other way. I think he's still solid with Baker and Tom. Top, he's still got probably 3 more years of that being a quality combo.
Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield, is that what you're saying?
Sorry, yes. And then I think
don't know them
McCaffrey
as well as you do on a first name basis. So just
yeah, no, very very close with
Mr. Tom Brady for me. But yeah.
And so I'm just kind of looking at his depth is the big thing for me. Receiver is 3rd is Robbie Anderson. We'll see what happens there in Carolina. And gets a Tyrell Williams, Josh Gordon, Greg Ward, Ted King Jr. So running back, I think McCaffrey just can't possibly get 500 points again and put the entire team on his back, but
we shall see. But
yeah, it's more just depth for me.
Did you hear that Christian McCaffrey is actually right now on the depth chart? He's the first running back, but he's also usurped Teddy Bridgewater as the starting quarterback as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
No,
he's going to be
hear about that one, but I did hear I heard he was the number 1 receiver is what I heard over TJ.
Well, he did that last year. Running back and wide receiver, he has that covered. This year, he's like, I want new challenges. 500 isn't enough. I'm going for 1,000 points. I'm going to be the quarterback. And he was actually going to go for kicker too until he found out we don't have kickers in our league. So that was the deciding factor. Yeah, forget that. Kickers are stupid. So.
Wouldn't want to get hurt,
Yeah, it's a very dangerous position. All that to say, I think he is going to have a drop-off this year. And I think he knows that too. He's told you that he's hoping for one more good year, and then, spoiler alert, he's going for the rebuild. So, yeah.
So, Eric, we'd be remiss not to mention the trade that went down middle of last year between GM Newell and Benjamin Chapman.
Yes, the trade heard round the world. That really kind of set our league in motion, for sure. So if I remember correctly, GM Newell tried to swindle Ben Chapman out of Melvin Gordon all around that holdout. Remember? So Melvin Gordon was coming back from his holdout, and GM Newell was starting to freak out like, oh no, Austin Eckler is going to be crap. So I need to get my hands on Melvin Gordon. So this is the deal he offered Ben Chapman. First of all, it was Melvin Gordon and a 3rd-round pick. No, sorry, I'm saying this backwards. Tevin Coleman and a 3rd-round pick for Melvin Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
He would be receiving Melvin Gordon. Ben Chapman would get Tevin Coleman and a 3rd-round pick. Ben Chapman, for some reason, probably held against his will, agreed to this trade. My guess is that GM Newell has some crazy blackmail on him. But anyway, the trade was pending. It was going through, and Mark and I talked about it, and we vetoed that trade. Not an action that we like to do. And in all honesty, I don't think we vetoed it. Didn't we vote on it? And didn't the league veto it?
We did have a vote, and we did get a little over 50%.
But it's closer than you wanted it to be.
Yeah, so it was a close call. We did get the votes went in that direction for sure.
Okay.
Kind of like you said, obviously we want to be careful with the vetoing, but the big part of the driving decision was it being year one. None of us having a rookie draft under our belt yet. It felt like we were overvaluing the 3rd round pick for a crowded backfield and the 49ers. Yeah. And Tevin Coleman at that time being the leader, but still crowded backfield versus Gordon.
Not to say I told you so, but by the end of the year, Tevin Coleman was not the Raheem Mostert of the 49ers. So, but anyway, so what I think GM Newell understood to a degree and came back with another trade offer. He offered Tevin Coleman a first round 2020 rookie draft pick, a second round rookie 2020 draft pick, a third round rookie 2020 draft pick, a fourth round rookie 2020 draft pick, and naming rights to his firstborn child in return for Melvin Gordon.
That was, we're still waiting to hear if that's an official report. That's a rumor we've heard going around.
Yeah, it was definitely not listed in the main script, but there are whispers out there of it. Doesn't Newell have a kid, though?
September 13th.
Oh, it's coming.
Coming.
We don't know this. So time will
last
tell.
Night, I was at their baby shower. And so that is actually where the trade went down between Seymour and myself. Nice. Conversations went into the morning, but we were able to get that done.
That's good. That's good. And this is an example of some of the inside information that you are learning about this league and its participants. So this is exciting. So in all honesty, when that trade went through, that kind of shook up a lot of things during this offseason. Obviously, GM Newell only had one pick in the rookie draft. We only do 5 rounds in our rookie draft, so he got a 5th round pick, and I can't honestly tell you who he got, but it wasn't of note in my rankings. Maybe it'll pan out, maybe it won't. But BC,
I do know that BC got Jalen Rieger was the Newell pick.
Okay.
2nd round, I believe that's Jefferson, or that might be his own pick.
Okay. Either way, it gave him the ability to get a lot more depth for this upcoming year. Obviously, he used his own pick since he was in 12th to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire as the first pick of our rookie draft. But yeah. All right, well, that kind of wraps up our division breakdown. Did you have any closing thoughts, Mark? I think next episode, we're going to be talking about the New England division. And then following that up with our Mid-Atlantic division to wrap up this part of the season. And we're hoping to hit the ground running just in time for opening kickoff for the NFL season. It's coming. It's been a month away.
Which is crazy. And it is funny because I think most of the people in here are Eagles fans. So we got them week 1, Eagles. Wow. Football team. Washington football team versus Eagles.
Almost made it through without a
genuinely
explicitive.
Genuinely a mistake. Jeez. I'm glad I'm practicing so that I don't do this.
Right. I mean, I can't believe you said the E word, dude.
I know.
That's so inappropriate.
I know. They need to change their name. Yeah. But here's hot takes. We've got a couple to wrap our session here.
Okay.
This is our final segment of the day. I think we've kind of discussed it, but to re-highlight for me, and I'm going to kick it over to you, is that I have Benjamin Chapman beating GM Newell this year. So our 12 from last year.
Overall, his ranking at the end of the season?
Overall ranking. Good clarification. Yeah. Overall ranking, I have Benjamin Chapman finishing ahead of GM Newell this year.
So not only does that mean that you have him ranking above him, does that mean you also have GM Newell going from first to worst in his division?
It does.
That is a bold take.
Big fall from grace.
Yeah. My hot take from this division, also has to do with GM Newell. I think that it's more an individual player thing, though. I think Tom Brady is going to throw more interceptions than Baker Mayfield this year.
What's the thinking there?
Well, the thought...
Perfect Tom.
Terrific Tom. He's learning a new system for the first time. A lot of times, Bruce Arians quarterbacks tend to throw a lot of interceptions in their first season with him, with his season. So,
well, to be fair, through their 3 or 4, how many seasons did Jameis Winston have?
True. So there's Jameis Winston. That's one example. But if I was resting my whole case on that, then this would definitely not be a solid take. This would be a very hot take. But if you also look at Carson Palmer's stats when he was with him in Arizona, he also threw the most interceptions of his season. Of his career in that first season with him. I'm trying to think through some of the other quarterbacks that have been with him. Kyler Murray. Was Kyler Murray with him? No.
I don't think so. No, he was drafted with the new regime. But I think Cardinals in general, obviously, we had a lot of picks during his time there.
Yeah. I'm talking specifically first year in his system, though, with Bruce Arians. So I don't have all the stats in front of me. I'm talking about Carson Palmer, though. I'm talking about Jameis Winston. And now I'm talking about Tom Brady. Tom Brady is going to throw more picks than we're used to him seeing, than we're used to seeing with him. And I think Baker Mayfield is going to get back on track this year. And I think it's going to be a more solid offense in the Browns scheme. And I think they're going to set him up to succeed. I think they're going to run the ball a lot more effectively behind that rebolstered offensive line. And that's going to take a little pressure off of Baker to be able to, I don't know, figure out which receivers are on his team.
I think LaShawn McCoy has a great season now in Tampa. So I really hope so. I just picked him up.
I forgot about that. I really don't, Mark.
I don't either. I got it for free.
But I hope for your sake that he does.
Thanks. That'd be nice.
But no, I think Ronald Jones is going to win that backfield.
Absolutely.
And Keyshawn Vaughn, everyone, is not going to be who you think he is. But that's my last hot take of the day.